everyone, welcome to this week's art lesson. So hopefully last week you guys practice using your pencil to make varying values from dark to light, and just taking that pencil and just practicing that motion of going from dark to light. And we talked about holding the pencil at an angle, and then maybe even you got as far as to practice adding values and shadows to some circles. So that was just a little exercise, and then this week we're going to learn how to pull it all together and actually make this abstract landscape project where we scatter some spheres on a surface, and we don't know if the surface is a table or somewhere in some dreamland. I don't really know. That's why we're calling it some kind of an abstract landscape, because we don't really know where it is. But we're just practicing how to make a shape or an object look like some are close and some of them are in the distance by using shadow and size. So this week we will learn how to pull this all together into something that looks like this. Okay, so just get your pencil and paper ready, and here we go. Okay, so here you can see I have my values that I was practicing, and again I'll just review that, where I'm practicing holding my pencil the right way on an angle, starting with medium pressure, and remember, never pushing hard on the paper because it can damage the paper, and then you get this kind of shiny look and it takes away from the value. And then lighter, lighter, very light. And then if you feel like you need to add a little bit more to get it darker, you layer it. Okay, so you don't want to ever push too hard. If you want to get darker, you just layer. Okay, so hopefully you guys had some time to practice doing that, and maybe even you got around to adding the values to your circles. This week, we're gonna add a horizon line, which we discussed last week. The horizon line is this line, and as soon as you add this line, it suddenly becomes a place, because now you have the land and the sky. So just by adding a simple line across your paper, it changes the whole thing. We go from circles in the middle of nothing, like this one, to now suddenly, I'll add it to here. Suddenly, when you add that horizon line, I can take circles in the middle of nowhere, and just by doing something simple like this, now it looks like we're somewhere. Okay, now we're on a surface of some kind. And then we're also going to talk about perspective and how to make it look like your project is going into the paper. And the word for that is depth. Like it's going in. So like this one has depth. It looks like this one's very close and this one's far away. How did I do that? It's very simple, made the ones in the front big and the ones all the way in the distance small, because when something is very far away, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, like a plane in the sky. When you're looking at it from far away, it looks very small. When you're standing next to a plane up close, it's huge. So one trick is to make your objects get smaller and smaller. So I have large, medium, and then small and very small all the way in the distance. So the first step for you today is to lay out your horizon line and where your circles are going to be. That was the wrong project. Sorry, I'm looking for my blank piece of paper. Okay, I am running low on paper. Okay. Now you never want to make your circles too big. Like something like that would be way too big, because the bigger your circles are, the harder they are to add the values. So when I say big, I mean something as small as this. So even the biggest one is still pretty small. So nice circles, nice and slow, closer to the bottom of your paper, you're gonna make your your biggest circle, which is still not that big. Let me just make sure that you guys can see this. I'm gonna push a little harder. for instructions. I'm also going to switch to a black colored pencil like I was doing last week, just to be on the safe side and make sure that everybody can see what I'm doing. You should not push down on your pencil though. Your lines should be much, much lighter than mine. Okay, so you can put as many close to you as you want. So don't feel like you need to do it exactly like mine. Just know that the farther you get to the top of your paper, the smaller and smaller your circles should be. And the smallest one all the way up here could be something like that big, like really tiny. So I'm gonna make another one, nice and slow. See, it's big, but it's smaller than this one. This one's bigger, and then I'm getting a little smaller. And smaller, smaller, and then the smallest. I don't know how many you would like to include in your project. It's really up to you, but the more circles you do, the more shading you have to do. So if you're not really into it and you want to keep it simple, just do a few. If you love shading circles and you want to make it really detailed, then you're welcome to add more. Now on my circle that's farthest away, that's where my horizon line is going to be. So I'm going to go from the circle slowly out to the edge of my page and on this side. Try to get it as straight as you can. There's my horizon line. Now where is my light source? Also known as the sun. Where's the light coming from? Because we learned that if the light is over here, then the shadows are going this way. The sun casts the shadow on the opposite side. And then we know that that area is going to be very light. This is going to be very light. This will be very light because these are the sides of the sphere that are illuminated by the sun. Okay, so my dark values start here. And I go in with that curved stroke where I'm going in the direction of the circle and I'm going dark, getting lighter, back and forth and lighter, done. Okay, now the shadow, dark. So it's the darkest right underneath that sphere, going out away from the sun, dark, medium, to light. Again, the biggest circle is going to be your most challenging circle because there's so much space to fill. Notice I did not use my finger to smudge. You can, but you have to be really careful that you don't over smudge because sometimes smudging it makes everything just the same value and then it all just looks like a flat gray. So I go in little circles, little tiny circles, back and forth, and all the while I'm going in this curved direction. I'm getting really light on my pencil now. Even lighter, barely touching the paper. Done. If you need to go in and make the darkest area even darker, go ahead. You can always go back and make things darker. If you made things too light and you need to make it lighter, use your eraser to lift up those highlights. Sometimes your eraser is your best friend. Add the shadow. This guy is going to take like 2 seconds because it's so small. Done. Maybe a little darker at the bottom. Done. Again, if you guys have Any questions about this at all? Because this is definitely a challenging one. Join me on Zoom on Wednesdays, 12:30. If you're really loving this project and you're proud of your work, join me on Zoom and share it with everybody who's with us on Zoom. I made a little mistake here, so I'm just going to erase and fix that. It's really good to have the time to share with each other, so take advantage of our Zoom time from 12:30 to 1 on Wednesdays. Okay, last one. So I'm going really dark towards the bottom, rounding it out. Barely touching the paper, and done. Now the shadow. It's good to have a sharp pencil for this because sometimes this, not too sharp, like not like needle sharp pencil, but you also don't want your pencil tip to be too dull because then it's hard to get into small spaces. If your pencil's too sharp, then you're going to damage the paper. You know, you're going to make a dent in the paper. What I like to do sometimes is I sharpen my pencil and then I just, on a scrap piece of paper, I just color a little bit pretty hard to make the point not too pointy and not too flat. Okay, and we're done. I'm just gonna fix this dark tone here. That's it. So I have this pretty cool looking 3D landscape, and that's your project. So I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope to hear from you. Have fun, take your time, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.